Maybe you have kids, but maybe burnout for you is that you're becoming irritable with your partner, or that when you get up for work, you're feeling that wet blanket just weighing down on you, or coming to a networking event feels like a monumental feat, that just to show up is like, oh, I made it. Maybe that's your connection to burnout. So now that we have understood what burnout is, how we experience it, I want to talk about what might contribute to it. And I know we go into the office and they'll talk about morale and culture and do you find, happiness in your job, and those are all great and they can contribute. But I think there are a few things that we don't often talk about that I think contribute to burnout. And the first one is success. Yes, I know, I see you looking. Success, it's this period that we can experience where we're energized, we're inspired, we're motivated. We have this fire that just keeps us going, and we think we can do it all. We can achieve, and we are achieving. But that's momentum. There's this other thing that we need, which is called stamina. Momentum lights the fire, but stamina is how you endure. Oftentimes, when we're looking at success, we get so focused on the momentum that we completely forget to think about the stamina. We don't find the checkpoints, or as I like to call the reflection points, where you get to catch up to yourself, where you get to stop and reassess in real time, where are my resources? How's my bandwidth? What's going on in my life or the world? Is the momentum at the right place, or do I need to recalibrate? And when we don't think about stamina, what happens is we indulge in this momentum, and we're like, I can take on more and more and more and more, until finally we get buried in our success. The second factor that I think contributes to burnout is that we often confuse necessities for luxuries. And so I want to ask you a question. How many of you think women define massages as luxury? Most of you? One more question. How many of you think men define going golfing as a luxury? One. And I would say that has been my experience, that when I have heard men talk about going golfing, it's part of the business. It's what's needed to happen to build the relationship. It's where work gets done. But I used to roll my eyes and be like, that's a luxury. Until I realized that actually they're right. That's a necessity. I define necessities as things that replenish us, recharge us, re-energize us. It's the thing that allows us to build and maintain the stamina that's needed for success. As women, we wear multiple hats, we play multiple roles, and we exclude anything outside of that, and we categorize it as a luxury. But I would tell you that if you cannot identify something that recharges you or replenishes you or re-energizes you that is not defined as a luxury, maybe it's just an uncovered necessity. The third factor that I think contributes to burnout, and this one is probably the one that's near and dear to my heart, is that we too often fail to give ourselves permission to human. And what I mean by human is that we are so plugged in this world, and we have real-time access to comparable data where we can see our mentors, we see our peers, we see those we hope to inspire one day, and we just think we have to do it all, we have to be it all, we have to go, go, go. And we don't realize that we are getting this very limited and narrow view. And all of us are human, and all of us are going to falter. It is impossible to stick the landing every single time. We are going to make mistakes. We are going to be unsure. And sometimes life throws us a curveball. In fact, sometimes the world throws us a curveball. And instead of stopping and pausing and saying, you know, how am I feeling? How much do I have left to give? Where is my bandwidth? We push it down, we silence it, and we put it into a place because we need to push through to reach our goal. We need to get to that end point. And we've pushed so much and we've silenced so much that we're going until we break. We don't look at the fact that we're humaning. And so those are the factors that I don't think we talk about very much. We don't look at very much, and we don't address very much. But now that we have, what do we do about it? How do we confront burnout? There are two things that I really, really like to do when I'm talking and working with my clients when it comes to burnout. And the first one is just like when you go into an ER and they need to see what's going on and assess the problem, is we need a triage. What's actually going on with this experience of burning out? And I like this activity where you do everything you do in your day. And I don't mean like I wake up, I go to work, I come home, but like I picked out my outfit, I brushed my teeth, I made my breakfast, or I went and got a coffee, I talked to my daughter as I was driving, I talked to my coworker, I had a meeting. And you're gonna list out all of the activities that you did for the day, and then you're gonna either put a D or an E beside them. You're gonna put a D if it depletes you, and you're gonna put an E if it energizes you. And there's two really, really amazing benefits to doing this exercise. The first one is that it gives you real-time data of how much of your day is depleting and how much of your day is energizing. Is it 30%? Is it 50%? 70%? Is it in the morning? Is it in the afternoon? Does it happen in the evening? But you get to finally see what is happening, because we're gonna have things that life, it's part of work, it's part of being in business. But when we start becoming more and more and more depleted, we can start taking stock of like, man, I was at 70% of doing things that were energizing, and now I'm only experiencing 40% of them. So that's the first benefit. The second one, and I'm gonna go back to the story with the car for just a second, is when I made the statement I made about just wanting my kids to go, that's when I noticed my burnout. It is not when I experienced it. There is a difference between noticing burnout and experiencing it. And what I love about this activity is that you get to start seeing where and when you're actually experiencing your burnout. That maybe it's not the job that's burning you out, maybe it's the relationship that no longer serves you. Maybe it's that friendship that's been going on too long. Maybe it's the fact that you don't like to cook. And every time you get to the kitchen, at the end of the day, you're like, oh, and it just wipes you out for the rest of the day. And so when you have this of information in front of you, you really get to start attending to the things that energize you and maybe changing some of the things that deplete you. So that's the first thing that I always recommend doing, is assess the problem. Once you've assessed the problem, doctor comes in, this is what's going on. What do? I'm going to write you a prescription. And so that's the second part. The first prescription is identify how you are going to intentionally set up your reflection points. How are you going to put in place these moments where you get to pause, where you get to build stamina, and you can reflect on where it is that you are at that moment. Where are your resources? Where's your bandwidth? What is happening in the world? What's happening in your life? Do you need to recalibrate? Do you need to slow down? Do you need to speed up? You want to make sure that you do not forget the stamina, because that is what stops you from getting buried in your success. The second prescription is to stop calling necessities luxuries. If you have something that rises and replenishes you, it is not a luxury. For me, I work with trauma, I work with depression, life transitions, and at the end of the day, I am holding that all. One of my necessities are massages. I can literally feel all that I've been holding melt away when I get a massage. My nails, on the other hand, are a luxury for me. I don't get that from them. Going to dinner with my friends, that's another necessity. When I'm in my room, my job is to make sure that I give the most space to my clients, that it is completely about them, and my stuff stays out there. But when I get to go to dinner with my friends, I feel my life building back up. I can feel myself expanding, and I get to be a whole human again, and that allows me to build the stamina I need to put myself on pause for my clients and to show up for them. If the thing that you are doing recharges you, it is not a luxury. It is a necessity. The final piece, or the final prescription, I should say, either or, is give yourself permission to human. Give yourself permission to fall, to flounder, to not stick the landing. Give yourself permission to stop and notice when life throws you a curveball, when you don't have it all together. And I'm going to give one last story. I remember I was in a really difficult place. Things were happening in my marriage, and I was in a really, really challenging program, and I'm a mother, and I have kids, and I remember the supervisor, and she was like, you can only give what's in your tank. She's like, if your tank is on 100%, you can give 100%. But if your tank is on 40 or 60%, you can only give 100% of 40 or 60%. That's it. That's all you got. So stop trying to give more that you don't have. If you are having a moment, allow yourself to be human, Because at the end of the day, like, the only thing that we can do is try to human just a little bit better each day. And so, thank you for letting me share my story and talk a little bit about burnout, and hopefully give you some new things to think about. You absolutely can. I love questions.